and we're gonna jump straight into Am I the A-hole? Uh, Hello, Viherpeukko. How's your day going this fine Sunday evening? You did not see me checking the date there. That did not happen. And anyone who claims or proves otherwise is a liar. Okay, let's start off with the first Am I the A-hole? Am I the A-hole for wearing the same color as the bride as a wedding harpist and not changing? So I, female 18, was asked to play the harp at a friend of my father's wedding. Grammar, boys. Oh no, 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 no. We have a typo this early on. Normally I would ask for payment beforehand, but since it was a family friend, they asked if they could just pay me at the reception, and I told them yes. The dates worked out for me, and it was set in a church about an hour away from my house. I showed the dress I planned to wear to the bride when we went over the music. When we went over the music she wanted and at the rehearsal, but only on a hanger. It looks like it would be ugly on a hanger, as it's just navy blue with long sleeves and floor length, but it's surprisingly pretty. I don't really think like how pretty the dress is is gonna be really relevant to the story, seeing as it's the color that's the problem. I got to the venue 4 hours early, so my harper would have time to acclimate to the room. When I got there, the bride's mother came to give me my corsage, and when she saw me, she demanded I change my dress. I laughed because I've known her for years, and then realized she wasn't joking. I asked what was wrong with it, and she said that the bride went with a non-traditional dress that was also navy blue. I panicked a little because this is her wedding and I felt really bad, but she and her groom had approved it twice. I told the mother and she asked if I had any other color I could change into. I don't bring extra dresses, obviously, unless my dress somehow doesn't get approved beforehand. So I didn't. So then she told me to go to the bridal shop 20 minutes away and buy a new dress. Wait, what? No, that can't be. This feels like this is like a made up story. There's no way this actually happened. I refused because those dresses would cost about what I was getting paid for this wedding, and I told her I couldn't afford it. I felt bad, but she begrudgingly walked away. The actual wedding went smoothly, and after everyone else had left the church and congratulated the bride, I stopped to talk to her. I explained what the mother-in-law said, and she said that it was fine, and that they weren't thinking when they approved my dress. At the reception, when I talked for he. Okay, I think that's just the typo. It's really hard because I haven't been speaking too much English recently, so reading it is already kind of hard, but the typos are really making it extra hard. When I talked to the mother-in-law about payment, she refused to pay me. I didn't want to cause a scene, but the bride came over and heard us talking. This time, she was also upset with me and also refused to pay me. Okay, this is kind of starting to sound fake, but we'll go with it. I didn't know what to do, as my parents were busy and couldn't attend this wedding. I didn't have anyone there to back me up. A lot of people assume harpists come from a lot of money because of how expensive harps are, but I've been renting a harp since 4th grade, and when my teacher passed, we bought it for an amazing deal. I also charge a lot less than okay, I don't think that's really relevant, but yeah, okay, it's cheap. But I have a college payment due in a few days, and I can't afford it. I got my parents involved when I got home, and my dad talked to his friend, the father of the groom, who was there when they approved the dress, and he got the payment to me. I still feel pretty bad, but I don't think there was anything I could have done. Should I have just sucked it up and bought a new dress? Am I the a-hole? Well, obviously, first of all, that's not really an option when you're already kind of struggling to pay your college tuition. So, like, you're in an a-hole for doing something you literally can't do. But also, like, they are not only a-holes, but probably criminals for trying to withhold payment, because there is, in most states, this is not legal advice, I'm not a lawyer, but in most states, at least in the US, there's something called implied in fact contracts, where basically if you receive the service or the payment, then that kind of proves that the contract existed in the first place, even if it's not a written down contract. So I think that might just actually be illegal. I'm not sure if it actually works that way or if it's only for like the actual customer. But I think that might be illegal. Not sure though. Don't quote me on this. Not a legal professional. But yeah, I mean, obviously, she had it checked twice. Like, how could she be the a-hole here? This almost kind of feels like she made this up just because this is such a perfect story where she does absolutely nothing wrong. But yeah, we're gonna go with not an a-hole. And we're gonna drop an upvote because we are gonna farm this for YouTube and Twitch content without providing anything to them. So that's my small compensation. Okay, next up. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my boss and blocking his number on my vacation? Actually kind of based. My boyfriend, 29 male, and I, 26 female, are currently long distance. We take turns visiting each other. I don't know why I read that as if the sentence would continue from there, but whatever. He came to see me after almost 2 months of seeing each other. We finally were to make plans. I requested to have 5 days, which was approved from my job. I've worked there for 6 years. It was after my shift, and I was heading out quickly. I had to pick my boyfriend up from the airport. I clocked out, and while I was saying bye, my new boss of 2 weeks stopped me, and he asked if I could cover a shift, since one of my coworkers called in sick. We were so short-staffed, and he needs me to stay for a couple hours more. I had a 10-hour shift. I was exhausted. Yeah, wait, that's already kind of overdoing it a bit, like, unless you, like, have shifts that are, like, yeah, I don't know, like, if you have, like, a weird shift system, then maybe that could make sense, but if you just do, like, 5 days a week of 10 hours, then that's kind of a lot. I was exhausted. I responded, no, I'm sorry, but I'm unable to, and I can't stay late. I have covered it before, I don't mind, but I had somewhere to be. I mentioned I was picking up someone at the airport. He told me they could take an Uber. My boyfriend wouldn't be happy with me if I did that with him, I'm assuming. Jesus Christ, it's so hard to read when there are typos and you aren't a native English speaker. Also, he has no key to my apartment. No one else wanted to stay, and I was the third person he asked that said no. I said, sorry, I can't tonight, another time. He called me a lousy worker and said that I'm not a team player. I said, I guess I'm not a team player, and I walked past him. Jesus Christ. Also, like, just thinking about it, the previous one had a lot of typos as well, and there's like a high likelihood that some of these aren't from the US, so maybe I shouldn't assume that they happen in the US, but whatever. I called out, I'll see him in 5 days. While driving to the airport, I kept getting calls and texts from him. It got so bad that I had to pull over and turn off my phone. My boss wanted me to come back to work. I had to turn on my phone so my boyfriend could contact me. My phone was flooded with text messages, ding after ding. I think I got close to 15 texts. I blocked his number. I was so happy to see my boyfriend. I was getting emails from him like constantly when it was supposed to be my... Okay, Jesus Christ. Can we focus on who's doing what here? I was so happy to see my boyfriend, but then the him here refers to the boss, right? I feel like I'm just grading this text. I'm actually not even thinking about whether or not they're the a-hole. I'm just like trying to make sense of what's going on here. Oh, my chat is doing a thing. It's not even moving. How is it still lagging out? My god. I was getting emails from my boss like constantly when I was supposed to be on my time off. I didn't respond to them, and I really take vacations. Okay, I'm just having a really hard time here. One, he was asking me stuff that I didn't know the answer to. Second, even if I did, I'm not telling him. I don't know. I was starting to get petty. I still had fun with my boyfriend. But then when I went to work, my boss called me into his office. He blew up at me for being unprofessional, and he's still new to this job. I should have helped, or at least replied to the emails. I responded other people could have helped him. It's not my responsibility when it's my vacation time. I got my first write-up ever. Is this something I'm missing? Is there something? I'm missing. Did I do something inherently wrong here? I'm actually considering to report him. He is still new to the job. Am I the a-hole? Edit, I'm Canadian. Okay, yes, you are the a-hole. Not for any of the previous stuff, just the Canadian part. No, I live in BC. Also an a-hole for assuming we know what BC is. Update, I just sent an email to the HR with all the emails, tax call logs, and any other evidence I have. My job isn't on call, so I don't understand why he was bothering me. He's my age roughly. On a happier note, me and my boyfriend are planning to move in together soon. Yeah, no, that's definitely not an a-hole. First of all, like if they were like the third person, she was the third person to be asked, then there's obviously like two other people who probably didn't have anything as pressing. If something really needed a quick response, but also it kind of implied here that like she was getting questions about a lot of different stuff, which like can't all be like extremely like important to like have responded immediately. So yeah, absolutely the boss is the a-hole, not the OP, although she is Canadian, so there is that. Okay, we might actually finally be able to get one that where the OP is the oh wait, I have to upload that thing. Wait, oh, if she's Canadian, that kind of explains the typos, if she like speaks French as her native tongue. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife it's her fault she didn't have fun at our wedding? That's a good start. I met my wife almost 2 years ago through some common friends. When I met her, she was heavily pregnant with her... heavily pregnant. As opposed to lightly pregnant. With her ex-boyfriend's child, but her ex wanted nothing to do with her and the kid and dumped her. We got together a bit after she gave birth, and I loved the baby like my own. The kid has just turned 2. Later on, she got pregnant with our child and gave birth 6 months ago. I had proposed... I don't know what that was. I had proposed... I kind of felt like I needed to sneeze, but then I didn't. I had proposed to her during her pregnancy and started planning the wedding straight away. While planning the wedding, I made it clear how I'd like a kid-free wedding, but my wife was against it because she loves the vibes kids bring to weddings. No one likes the vibes, because the fact is that your like family and friends are 100% gonna like be drinking there, and it's really uncomfortable for the kids, for the adults. Don't bring children to a wedding. That's just a dumb idea. That's never gonna end well. But yeah, she, for whatever reason, loves the vibes the kid brings to the weddings. She's also from the Balkans, so having kids at weddings, and drinking at weddings is extremely common also. But also having kids at weddings is very important to her because weddings are usually family-oriented in her culture. We eventually came to a compromise and only allowed kids over the age of 10. She wanted to bring our kids as well, but I told her I'm against that because who's going to take care of them? She said our parents will help us out, and I told her I'm not going to ask my parents to babysit instead of having fun at my wedding. She said I'm being really unfair for not trying to find a solution with her, and mentioned how important it is to her to include our kids to the wedding. In the wedding, whatever. I told her she's the one who wants them there, so it's it's on her to find a solution. Her parents said they'd help her out with the kids, but they ended up enjoying themselves during our wedding last weekend. And what? My wife barely danced and got up at all because she was caring for the kids and running after them the entire time. So I'm guessing they ended up enjoying themselves. That could go two different ways. Does that mean that they were drinking, or does that mean that they kind of went off and did something else? I have no idea. Yeah. She complained about how everyone else enjoyed her wedding, but her as a bride didn't. But she, as a bride, didn't even get to dance more than twice. I told her it's her fault and she shouldn't bring the kids to the kids in the first place, especially the 2-year-old, because she was the one causing most trouble during the wedding, running around the whole time. My parents also scolded her and told her she's very entitled for expecting them to babysit the kids while they were having fun at their only son's wedding. My wife said we are the a-holes for not trying to see her point and how we all cared more about our own fun and comfort, and we tossed the pride to the side. Wow, that rhymes. And she feels nobody gave a shit about her the entire time. Am I the a-hole? Yeah, so kind of, actually. I mean, obviously the wife is the biggest a-hole here. Like, there's no question about that. It's her choice. She kind of just like expected everything to work out, even though she was kind of already informed that that was not gonna happen. Yeah, I don't know. This feels kind of dumb, but at the same time, like the OP here, at least from what I could gather from this text, was kind of harsh worded in the way she informed her that it was her fault, and she could have just like tried to sound a bit more understanding, even if the wife was in the wrong. In the end, it's almost like nuance exists and things aren't black and white. I guess we'll upvote this even if we do think they are the a-hole. Oh, yeah. Obviously, we don't downvote the a-holes, but we could just not upvote it. But I think since we are gonna farm this for content, then I feel like we are kind of obliged to actually give them an upvote, regardless of what we feel about them. Am I the a-hole for giving my girlfriend less food than me when I cook? So I'm a 26-year-old man and I'm 6'2", short, tiny, basically a child. Then 6'2", that's nothing. I'm just to be clear, I'm 6'3", so there actually isn't that big of a difference. But shorter than me means he's extremely short, basically an Oompa Loompa. 220 pounds, and I'm being called an a-hole by my girlfriend, who is a woman who is 5'3" and maybe 130. I really hope he didn't ask the weight to post this, because I think if that's the case, the a-hole thing might be about something completely different than the food. For not making our plates the same size when I cook for us or make our plates. She said she says I should be making even amounts of food for both of us, and I say that she doesn't need as much as I do because she doesn't go to the gym and she's much smaller, so she needs less food just to stay alive than I do, all things being equal. Also, it's not as if I'm starving her, giving her 1/10 of what I'm eating. It might be like half the amount of fries if we're having burgers or something. I feel like the stance is reasonable, but I wanted to ask, am I the a-hole? Wait, why would you like portion her food to begin with? You're absolutely the asshole, but not even maybe for the reasons you think. Like, if you're just giving her small amounts of food instead of just letting her take her own food. Like, obviously the a-hole. Also, I really, really hope he didn't like ask her about this. Yeah, there's no like. He's an a-hole for more than he even like asks about here. He's like double a-hole. I mean, it was interesting, and we are gonna go through the comments just to see people dunk on him. Why don't you just serve her the amount she wants to eat when you cook for her? Precisely. This, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she eats less than you. Some people don't eat huge meals, but if she wants more, serve more. Yeah, it's that easy. Because he's greedy, pure and simple. He also has the old-fashioned mindset that men should have more than women. Yeah, this is what I was saying. OP should just let her select her own helping. Like, why would you even portion the food for someone else? You don't know how much they want to eat. It's like a double a-hole here. And great point, Rasapurkki. I totally agree with you. That's why it's a great point. Otherwise, I would be. No, I'm just kidding. You're doing something very unusual. Your girlfriend told you she doesn't like it, and you still need additional validation and go to Reddit. Take a step back, look at the big picture, because I doubt this is really about portion size. I mean, might be though, kind of partially. Yeah, I mean, this is like the more weird part. I agree. Exerting control with a partner is a big no-no. Yeah. Okay, so do we upvote the post just because I do enjoy seeing people dunk on this guy? I kind of feel like we should upvote it just because there is a lot of entertainment value here. Do keep in mind once again that in Am I the A-hole, your votes aren't about whether or not they're a good person. It's about whether or not the posts are interesting. Maybe we just don't vote there, because that was kind of giving me the creeps there as well. That's the wrong thing. Okay. Am I the a-hole for refusing to cancel my wedding because of my cousin? Why do we need the names? Madison. This is an important piece of information. Whatever. I'm getting married to my boyfriend Matt, 28 male. Oh, 25 female in 2 days. 2 to 3 days ago, my cousin's Elena, 30 female husband had an accident and a serious injury. He's now at the hospital and is recovering slowly. Yesterday, my family and I had a small dinner to celebrate the wedding. We didn't expect. Jesus Christ! I feel like I need to sneeze, but it's just not coming out. Oh God, it's horrible. I completely lost my train of thought. Bless you. Well, I didn't sneeze, so I guess I don't deserve the blessings yet. Yesterday, my family and I had a small dinner to celebrate the wedding. We didn't expect Elena to come, but she did, which we had no problem with. But during our dinner, I noticed she was looking at me and Matt weirdly, as if she was angry. Also, pronouncing R's in English is really, really hard. Should I just go with like a rolled R? She was angry. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. Suddenly she stood up and said, Matthew, Madison, you guys are absolutely perfect for each other, and I'm so happy for you guys. I'm so happy you guys are getting married. But I would like for you to postpone the wedding and all the arrangements that have been done to be transformed into a get well party for my husband. Matthew gave each. Do people on Reddit just not know how to type? These are very speaks English. This is horrible to read. Matthew and I gave each other, I'm guessing is what this is supposed to say, weird looks, but then I responded saying, Elena. Like, I can like get like these like in a very sad, like if you have dyslexia or something, this is a typo you might make, right? But just like leaving full words out is really weird. Elena, I'm very sad for what happened to your husband, but that is not a reason for me to postpone my wedding, which I have spent the past year organizing. I'm sorry, but I will not be canceling my wedding. You are free to cancel if you want. She snapped at me saying how big of an a-hole I was and that I was selfish and inconsiderate of her husband. I told her that me and my husband have never ever had a proper conversation in their 3 years of marriage. The maximum was, hi, hello, how are you, how's work, that's it. She stormed out of the house and we haven't talked since. So am I the a-hole in this situation? First of all, it's really unreasonable for the cousin to actually like ask them to postpone and basically give uh, give up their whole wedding, which probably was extremely expensive because people, for whatever reason, feel like they have to spend their whole net worth on a single wedding. Uh, but at the same time, kind of understandable, she is probably not in the best headspace considering the whole situation with her husband. So I mean, I'm inclined to forgive her, but that definitely does not make OP the a-hole. Uh, yeah, I'd kind of stick with what I'm saying here, but let's see what the comments think. Not the a-hole, she sounds like she's clearly hurting, but she's also majorly entitled. Is that a usual trait for her? Mm. Oh, this is a horrible comment. I hate this take. I know a couple that lost a sibling 2 weeks before their wedding, completely unexpected and incredibly tragic. But the mother who had just lost her daughter urged them to go ahead with the day because it's a celebration of life, however little time we have of it. Okay, so someone else was able to handle a situation better than someone else. That okay, cool, dude. Yeah, there are like 8-year-olds doing 12-hour work shifts, so you shouldn't complain about anything in your life, right? This is like the single worst take. This is horrible. I feel like the cousin isn't an a-hole. I feel like she just isn't in a good headspace. And this is like actually just an the a-hole is in the comments here. I mean, the guy is a self-proclaimed a-hole enthusiast, so maybe if you stare into the rear end long enough, you become one yourself or something. I really hate this comment. Oh well, flexed on. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay, next up. Am I the a-hole for forcing my boyfriend to eat spicy and gross food? I, 23 female, decided to introduce my boyfriend, 26 man, to my parents over dinner. My boyfriend is by no means a picky eater. He's eaten snails, okay, but snails are kind of normal though. Intestines, wait, isn't that? That's also not particularly weird. Chicken feet, I mean, that's weird, but not particularly gross, etc. Like, that's obviously not a typical food you find in like Western kitchens, but it's also not particularly gross. So, okay, etc. Previously, he has also a spice tolerance that rivals mine. He can eat 3 times bulldog without breaking a sweat, and even eats ghost pepper noodles for fun. Here's an obvious question: which ones? Because there's definitely a lot of ghost pepper products, including noodles, that just are not hot at all. I tell my mom she doesn't have to make it less spicier for my boyfriend or less westernized. Wait, more westernized is probably what they're going for here. Westernized is no animal organs, no animal brain, no eyes. Less spice is more palatable to a picky eater, basically. We all start eating except for my boyfriend who is picking at his food. My mom serves him the best pieces of fish and chicken. Instead of eating it, he just picks off the flesh from the bones, discards the bones, and that's the oil of the fish. Okay. I don't get why he's just playing with the food because my dad is obviously getting a bit ticked off when my boyfriend hasn't taken a single bite of the food except for the rice 10 minutes into the meal. Wait, what? So he's just picking off the flesh from the. But how, does it matter which order you do it in? Like whether or not you pick it off and then eat it immediately, or whether you pick off all the flesh off the bones first and only then eat it? I picked up the chicken from his plate and fed it to him. He makes a gagging sound over Malabari chicken stew. I have no idea what that is. We're gonna go on a journey. Imagine if this is like just some. Maybe the bones were edible. With chicken, they usually aren't. Like with like beef stuff, they might like have some marrow in them, but Malabari this is this is this is not helping at all. Oh yeah, like in Muikku. Oh wait, they're eating Indian poets. No wonder he was not up for it. Okay, what is in? Okay, I mean maybe they just don't like curry. That's a thing, right? I particularly don't like curry either. He's getting on my last nerve by now, so I whisper in his ear that he has to start eating the fucking food or else he's sleeping on the couch tonight. He finally starts eating the food, obviously unwillingly, but he's still eating nonetheless. He tries out everything, gags a couple of times, leaves a lot on his plate still, and then announces he's done with the meal. I tell my parents he has gastric issues, but we didn't want to upset them by not coming today. They nodded, fairly sure they knew it was just an excuse, but they didn't press the issue and just told my boyfriend to have a good night. What kind of a relationship? That looks kind of bomb though. I mean, yeah, it's kind of. It definitely didn't look bad, but who knows? Also, what kind of a relationship do you have with your parents where you've exhausted the gastric issues excuse with them and they just know you're like BSing? Because people normally don't question that at all. We took the cue and left and almost immediately got into an argument in the car. I asked him what the fuck he was doing after my mom made such a great meal for him. He asked me why I forced him to eat all that gross and overly spicy food. He asked me if I was trying to poison him. I was taken aback. He told me it doesn't matter what he normally eats. I forced him to eat things against his will on the pretense of manners and that I needed to change that. I don't know if I should apologize to him because I don't know who's in the wrong here. Am I the a-hole? Yeah, but if you have like gastric issues, you might not want to like actually bring that up, right? So maybe they wouldn't say it before the meal, just because they don't want to talk about their gastric issues right before people are starting to eat. I feel like that could like affect someone's appetite just a bit. Edit in response for people asking for more context. When I met his parents, I tried out foods that I would normally not be okay with, including snails. I'm not a big fan of escargot, and I hate the texture of it. Okay, who's the picky? I was totally on board with her. Like, yeah, he was kind of being overly dramatic there, but for sure, don't like make fun of his parents cooking. What did his parents do to you, dude? I mean, true, but usually that means burps and stuff. So, who knows? I don't like eating rabbit, frog. Wait. So you're like okay with animal brains and eyes, but you draw the line at rabbits. Okay. That's a weird combination. Now I don't like personally mind animal brains. Never eaten anything eye related, but like I feel like rabbit is a lot more normal than brains are. But I still ate it because okay, there's like probably a word missing here because of something, and complimented his mom's cooking because I knew it was important to gain their approval. Once again, I feel like they're the a-hole for like making fun of the dude's mom's cooking, not for the forcing him to eat. Like this was fine. This is where it goes off the rails. Is there gonna be like a second edit where he just mentions like his hobby of eating puppies or something? Like what? Like how did the edit make her look worse than like the actual story? I also kick babies. Okay, what else does she say? I'm kind of afraid now. There could be anything here. This was my boyfriend's first meeting with my parents. It was important to make a good impression on them in case our relationship got more serious. But instead he was acting like a kid the whole time. Did I ask my boyfriend why he was gagging and if he was feeling discomfort because of the food or because of the situation? He told me that he was afraid of how unhygienic the food was. Asked him why he thought it was unhygienic. He won't give me a straight answer and is just deflecting. I asked him if it was because my parents were South Indian and not North Indian. He didn't say yes or no. He just yelled at me and asked me how I dared to paint him as racist. I don't know. I don't care at this point. I've mentally turned myself off. Thank you to all the commenters who shared your insight, and I understand it was inappropriate of me to force feed him. I see that I'm partially the a-hole here, but I will not be arguing or responding anymore to any more comments unless they're info queries. Yeah, they're both a-holes. Like, this is a bit weird, but this would like be kinda a-hole before the edit. Going on Reddit and making fun of his mom's cooking. His mom, who has done nothing wrong, totally makes her the asshole here. Also, I feel like there was some like logical leap here to the racism meme, but who knows? Am I the a-hole for kicking out my mom after he comments about my wife? Throw away, so this is anonymous. I'll try to make it quick. My wife gave birth to our baby boy. Actually, whenever someone says this is a throwaway account, I really like to check whether or not that's actually true, because people sometimes just say that. Okay, it feels like this actually is. But to be honest, I would rather eat random oily fish and mystery curry than snails and frogs. But you don't like snails. You've never eaten escargot. Or do you just not like it? I mean, I personally don't like frogs either, but snails are kind of normal, right? No, I don't like slimy things. Fair. I'll try to make it quick. My wife gave birth to our baby boy 4 months ago. My wife ended up having an emergency C-section. I don't want to say how, but it left my wife in a bad condition afterwards. I feel like I've been like battling with this almost sneeze for like the last half an hour. It was kind of funny at the start, but now it's just getting really annoying. Luckily, we only have 4 more. Am I the a-holes? So we can end with a round number. Sniff pepper. I don't think I will. I mean, that would get me to sneeze, but that would probably be really uncomfortable as well. And the sneezing probably wouldn't stop for a while. Like, have you seen how huge my nose is? With this noser. I'm gonna run out of pepper if I start sniffing it with this nose. Yeah, so wait. Damn, never mind. I'll try to make it quick. My wife gave birth to our baby boy 4 months ago. My wife ended up having an emergency C-section. Don't want to say how, but it left my wife in a bad condition afterwards. When my mom found out that my wife had a C-section, she started saying disgusting things like, I actually have no idea how I'm supposed to read. But okay. Honey, you shouldn't be complaining. Imagine having to birth your child through Jesus Christ, that's like the most grass way you could even go about that. Like, it's or wife's name. So when you guys have a second kid, are you planning to have a real birth? Like, Jesus Christ, we're this like far into it, and I'm already pretty sure it's not the. This could be, am I the asshole for kicking my mom? You could leave the word out of the text, and I'd still be like, nah, reasonable. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, fake kid, probably. This kind of feels. This feels like either like this is like an actual like completely fake, or maybe this is like the opposite, where someone just like had a fight with their mother-in-law and just kind of wrote it from the perspective of the husband instead, and then just really tried their best to paint her in the bad light here. Could be either, but I don't feel like this is a real story. Or Sweetie, I don't mean to offend you, but you are insulting to the parents that actually gave birth to their child for 24 hours by complaining about an easy C-section. Even, you should be grateful all you have left is a scar. I couldn't walk for days after labor. I offered to my wife that she not come over to the house anymore, but she said that she didn't want to open up that can of worms. C-sections can be fatal too, though. Yeah, and I mean, there's like plenty of other reasons why like people might not be okay with that. Like, people have a lot of self-image issues and stuff. Like, it could be really mentally taxing. Especially since we didn't really get a lot of details from the get-go, so I'm just assuming like, yeah, it's hard on her, and totally understandable on the wife's part why she'd be kind of down there. So yeah, the mom is being the a-hole so far. However, I did talk to my mom and told her to stop with the unnecessary comments. Last week, my wife was in the kitchen cooking breakfast, and she was in a cropped top and boy shorts. Boy shorts is, by the way, a term I've never heard, so I'm not sure what that is exactly, but I'm assuming it's like cargo shorts, maybe. My mom stopped by unannounced, and she went in the kitchen where my wife was. They said hello. Then my mom asked why she's wearing that. My wife explained that she just woke up. My mom said that she should put on a longer shirt to cover up the thing. My wife asked why she had to cover it up, and my mom went on a rant saying that she's being disrespectful to people who went through the hard part in labor, and she's flaunting it to people who... Okay, there's no way this is real. This is this is like comically evil. Yeah, this is not real. I'm sorry, I just don't believe anything in this whole story. I told her to leave, and she tried to say that she was speaking the truth. I told her that her truth was just ignorance and she needs to leave. After I sent her a text message saying that she's no longer welcome at my home over this, and we will be deciding if we even want to contact her after this. My wife went through a difficult pregnancy, and we're lucky she's okay right now. It obviously left a gash across her stomach, and she's already very self-critical about it. I found out afterwards by my family that my mom ended up having a panic attack after I sent her that message, and now I'm being told I am the asshole and I handled this wrongly and immaturely, sending her that was wrong and we should lay off. Probably a USA thing. Oh yeah, I forgot there are like countries that aren't civilized yet. True. I say yet, but I mean, the USA hasn't really gone towards the civilized thing. I feel like they're going away from it, so so we'll see. Am I the a-hole for telling my best friend my honest opinion of her wedding? My best friend got married. My best friend got married last week on a destination wedding. I was a maid of honor. Wait, why do I not have KW enabled? What is going on? But there are still a couple of am I the a-holes for us to go through. Now I did completely lose track of where I was going because of the chat issues, but it is what it is. I was a maid of honor and our friend group was bridesmaids. I originally planned on having my kids staying with my in-laws because I didn't want to exhaust them by bringing them to a destination wedding. But 2 weeks before the wedding, my friend insisted on me bringing the kids for the ceremony because she wanted them to be ring bearers. I think I've already like expressed how I feel about children at weddings. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. I had told her that I can't just bring the kids to a ceremony because I'd have to pay for a babysitter for the reception, and I simply can't afford that. I had to pay for a destination wedding, a destination bachelorette party, all my expenses on hair, makeup, and the maid of honor dress, plus the wedding gift. She was begging me and started crying about how much she loves my kids and wants them as ring bearers. And she'll find a solution regarding a babysitter. I trusted her on that. I didn't want to let her down because her wedding has already been cancelled 4 times in the span of 2 years now. Oh yeah, because the situation is the situation in the world that we probably don't want to bring up if I'm gonna post this on YouTube as well. Kids at a wedding is child torture. Like, it's not fun for anyone. The kids don't like it, and then like the adults also don't like it, because like it's gonna feel really weird, like if you're gonna be drinking or anything. Now, obviously, if it's like a wedding where there isn't any alcohol for religious reasons or other stuff like that, then I think it's fine to have children at weddings. But really, do you really want your racist drunk uncle near your children at a wedding? No, you don't. Like, that's just. I feel like that's just a dumb idea. Old tradition, yeah. I didn't want to let her down because her wedding had been cancelled. And I didn't want to add to her stress anymore. So we leave for the wedding, and last minute I find out that the bride had forgot to hire the babysitter, despite her reassuring me we won't have to worry about it multiple times. Oopsie. That resulted in my husband having to skip the reception and having to go back to the hotel with the kids. After the meals were done, everyone was enjoying themselves with their partners while I was alone because my husband was away. My best friend told me to cheer up and that it's not a big deal, but it was hard as I felt like I was third wheeling everyone. All my friends were there with their partners. It wasn't their responsibility to keep company to me because of the bride's negligence about the babysitter. After we returned, the bridesmaids told me about how sorry they feel and how I'm right to feel upset, as she is. How to get kids smearing shit on the wallpapers speed tutorial. That I'm right to feel upset. They also said that they are mad about how bride has guilted all of us regarding the amount we'd spent overall, despite knowing our financial situations, and how they feel like she has partly guilt tripped us because her wedding has been cancelled before. This week I met for a coffee with my best friend, and he asked me my honest opinion about everything, and do not sugarcoat it. I want to stop here. I want to read that again. And to not sugarcoat it. So I told her that I'm mad about how she promised to handle one thing for me and she failed, after me and my bridesmaid had to make sure to do everything to her liking despite our own hardships. I told her I didn't want to complain about her during the wedding planning in order to not stress her out, but I told her since all of this is over, I feel like she was in the wrong for trying to guilt trip us, as if it was our fault her wedding got cancelled before. She then started crying and said she's worthless and a horrible friend, and that I implied she's a bad person. The rest of the bridesmaids found out. Now I'll believe I am the a-hole for telling the bride my honest feelings, and I should just suck it up and let it go, despite being right. Wait, let it go. This kind of stuff is exactly why I stopped and reread the not sugarcoat it. If you don't want the truth, don't ask for the truth. It's that easy. If you want your feelings to be spared, then don't go out of your way to make sure that they aren't spared. Absolutely not the hell. I do think the OP might be exaggerating about the guilt tripping thingy here, but other than that, not the a-hole. And I think, yeah, the comments probably agree with me on this. Yes, for the truth. Yeah, precisely. Not the hell. And yeah, obviously the, oh, I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person, and Isaac, and everything like that is not an apology. It's kind of the opposite of that, actually, because I feel like the guilt tripping here was like exaggeration, but the guilt tripping at the end, like, is actual guilt tripping. So, yikes. Oh well, two more. Just can't sneeze. It's horrible. My uncle is a. Am I the a-hole for not letting my uncle inside? Didn't we just talk about racist uncles? Is this gonna be something like that? Let's find out. My uncle is a heavy smoker and always smells like an ashtray. Growing up, all our cars and our home had the lingering smell of smoke, even if he didn't smoke inside them, because the smell is so strong on him that he carries it wherever he goes. When I bought my house a few months ago, I told my mom never to bring her brother over here because I won't let my house take on that smoke smell. My mom was upset, but she got over it. Yesterday she came by with some equipment my dad said I could borrow. When I opened the door for her, my uncle was there and wanted to come in to use the bathroom. I said he couldn't come in, but there was a gas station up the road. My mom got mad and said she raised me better and gas stations are gross. I shrugged and said so are cigarettes. My uncle got mad and started trying to argue, so I held out my hand for the equipment, hoping to end the conversation quickly. My mom said I couldn't have the equipment unless I let my uncle in. I said my dad already said I can use the equipment. She said my dad could drop it off then. I just shut the door and walked away. They drove off. My dad said I was in the wrong for trying to make a point, and now I need to drive to their place to pick up the equipment. I wasn't trying to make a point though, I just hate that smell. They're both assholes. The smell will absolutely not linger in the time it takes someone to go to the bathroom. That's just not how anything works. Like if someone walks into your bathroom and walks out, that does not leave a lingering smell in your apartment. But then at the same time, like the mom kind of using the equipment as kind of a tool for blackmail there. Also an asshole. Sorry, a-hole. I have to edit that part out when I post this on YouTube. Oopsie. And the dad also being an a-hole. Although then again, the dad probably heard the mom's version of what happened. So, But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of a-holes going around in this story. I feel like the uncle is almost like the only one who really isn't that bad. Oh. And even he is kind of an a-hole. Because, like, obviously you should respect people's boundaries. So yeah, actually. I hate the whole family. Not the a-hole. Your mom and your uncle knew the rules. And so do I. I was 100% sure that this was gonna turn into a rickroll, but it didn't. I'm so sad. Oh, this could have been the best comment ever, but... Okay, last one. Am I the a-hole for purposefully not showing up to a school mediation? My 11-year-old son was accused of being a bully to a classmate during lunch. Basically, Evan wanted to sit with my son and his friends and was told not to. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. There's actually like a part 2 to that, because he like ate the same food again and apparently it's good nowadays, so the meme has kind of phased out. The school counselor wanted to have a mediation over it and wanted my son to apologize to Evan. The background is that Evan rubs my son and his friends the wrong way. My son went out of his way to befriend him because he felt sorry for him. For example, Evan would spend the lunch in the library because he had no friends and no lunch. Oh, this is definitely like the US. No lunch. Oh, God. I'm pretty sure this is from the one country that didn't think food should be a basic human right. I always forget that the US has that weird lunch thing where you have to buy your own lunch. Breaking news! The country that still hasn't outlawed slavery is bad. My son would go to the library and talk to him and share his lunch. Yes, I know they're not allowed to eat in the library, but whatever. Things started to go sideways when Evan started telling my son that he was in love with him and complained that he didn't like what my son brought for lunch. My son started to distance himself from Evan, and Evan would literally follow him all over school. Eventually, my son told Evan to fuck off and leave him alone. He did for a couple of days, then tried to sit with him. Now, if my son was being a bully, then I would handle it. Most of the background story went over the counselor's head because I think she felt that an apology would squash everything and make it easy for her. Since school ends this week. But I don't care about her and don't think my son should apologize to someone who has harassed him. The counselor scheduled a mediation and I agreed to go if the other kid would acknowledge that he was annoying my son and that my son tried to befriend. She said she'd try to bring it up since the mediation was scheduled for only 20 minutes, so neither me or my son showed up. Evan and his mom did. The counselor was mad that I flaked, so I told her that's what she gets for being lazy. And Evan is not poor. Both of his parents are doctors. He's just weird. How do we feel about this? First of all, we feel like this is an exaggeration, right? I think the whole loves him stuff is probably made up to make it sound more reasonable, right? It's probably just that Evan is a bit annoying and the kid doesn't want to hang out with him. Also, since only one person has talked to her about this, like it's an 11-year-old son's claiming that he didn't bully someone. And that's all the proof the mom needs, apparently. Maybe an asshole, maybe not, who knows? This is kind of the one where I really can't tell. Mostly because, obviously, if we just went off of this, then obviously she's not the asshole. But I don't believe everything here. This sounds like an exaggeration. I feel like some of this happened and the love thing is just made up to make it sound more reasonable. And I suppose you are an asshole if you actually go out of your way to lie in a story like this. So I'm gonna go with is an asshole, but not because of what happened in the story, because the story doesn't feel like it's real. Feels like it's an exaggeration to kind of justify something they did. There's definitely a lot missing from this story that the OP isn't bothering to provide. And considering that they're also not bothering to go to their kid's school to address conflict even though the other people showed up, I'm sensing a pattern. OP also says I don't care for the guidance counselor, but doesn't tell us details. Again, I'm sensing a pattern. YTA OP at least for wasting time of adults who had nothing to do with the situation and were ostensibly trying to help. Yeah. Like, yeah, this is true. Like, oftentimes, like, the weird kid is kind of ostracized for a good reason. Usually racism, surprisingly often racism. But the thing is that I don't believe this story. So I'm gonna go with an a-hole, just because they had to exaggerate the story. But with that, there's one more thing we have to do. You guys know what that is, don't you? We can't end the stream quite yet, because there's one more thing we have to do. And that is, of course, sneezing. Yep, that's the thing. Should I just take the pepper? No, I was more like along the lines of raiding someone. I think I'm just gonna raid Aniki. I think they're a bigger streamer, so they probably won't even notice, but I like their content, so you get to like it as well. The channel is apparently intended to mature audiences, but yeah, whatever. So with that being said, I hope you have a great day, dudes, dudettes, and everything in between. I'll see you in my next stream. Definitely check out my YouTube, and have a good one.